Good morning, Ava. The second I get a break, which is probably right after this class, I'm going to grab the Wix site and get that going so we can do that. And it's showtime. Good morning.
Good morning, beautiful. How are you?
I am very good. How are you?
Good. I'm okay, my dear. Thank you for asking.
And to also let you guys know, like Anna and I had a amazing 30-minute conversation yesterday, and reached out. So there are things that happen from this morning group, Gina, that I want you to know that expand. And I can't I take on a lot of guilt. That's my kind of personality. I can't feel guilty for not making these morning meetings. I want to get to where I'm here every day because I love y'all. And it makes such a difference, and I'm working on changing my lifestyle. Okay.
That is
But that's going to probably start with the next week or two of getting up at 9 instead of 7:30.
good because you'll want to shift it back slowly to give your body time to adapt it.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to do, is do this successfully.
Exactly. And the short, little baby steps, long term, when you look back in a year, you're in a whole different place.
Yeah.
A whole different place than sprinting and falling and then, having to pick yourself up and have a broken knee or whatever. I want to talk a second about guilt because you mentioned that word. Did you
Sure.
know there are two kinds of guilt? So this is really cool because my adopted father is Jewish. So I was raised by Jewish, and then my mom piled guilt on top of me. So I have like the best of both worlds. I'm like, it's guilt on top of guilt on top of guilt. Anyway, so I found this out and it really helped clarify for me. There's two kinds of guilt. There's one kind of guilt that is, oh, I want to do better and I feel so bad for not doing that. Arr! And it actually is it's painful, but it's painful in a way that makes you not want to go there again and makes you want to do better. And then the other kind of guilt is debilitating. And it's guilt that you can't do anything about. It's something that happened that you're like, oh, and it just wears you down and wears you down. So that kind of guilt, that's the kind of guilt you need to get rid of, because that kind of guilt does you no good at all. None. So if you're just be aware of what's going on in your head. If it's oh, I never want to do that again, I'm never going to do that again, fine, let that fuel you if that is something that fuels you. But if it's just grinding you down, you got to do steps to get rid of it. You got it, because that's not healthy or good. And it's not even, it's our brains trying to get us to never step out and do anything that might kill us. When in reality, probably the scariest most treacherous thing we could ever do is get behind the wheel of a car, statistically. You know what I mean? I mean, the rest of the stuff.
I say that all the time and nobody ever gets it.
It's true. Like my
And
husband,
yes, we don't even think about putting our kids in cars, and how many traffic deaths are there?
Right. You're statistically, especially within 2 miles of your house, statistically much higher. So, all right, let's someone has some really good news they'd love to share. Let's dig into some real flow stuff. But first off, does anyone have anything that's super cool that they're like, I want to share this?
Yeah. So real quick, I introduced Gary and the guy with the metal homes. I made the email introduction.
Mhm.
So they hit it off really good yesterday. Gary emailed me back, and I think Gary didn't even mention having him on the podcast. He went straight to Beverly to, tell him to set him up to come to a Monday Night Live.
Way
What
cool.
company is this, Craig?
What was that, Trevor?
Who are we talking about? I'm sorry.
So this is a guy that he owns this company called Coat Builders, Coats Building.
Okay.
And so they build barndominiums, but they also so they build metal structures, metal homes, and I found out they build log homes as well. And he when I got him in contact with, I texted him yesterday because Gary didn't have his number. Gary texted me to get his number. So when I texted him, he called me and he wants me to look for a commercial building for him to lease for a new business.
Yay! Score, Craig. Good job.
Awesome.
So,
I
and I
love
think I have one in mind for him already. I think I got one for him.
So
Yeah.
who will you connect with to help with commercial, or do you feel like you can do that on your own there, or because
That's what direction he's going.
Yeah. So, Gary, I take the commercial. I'm in the commercial mastermind with Gary. And then if I need some advice, Anna, I have a few other people here, some agents, commercial agents that's with EXP.
Okay.
So I got a lot of resources. To help me
Well, that's
out.
what I was gonna say, that we have a ton of them.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
and I always say, like, never be afraid to like give somebody a referral fee or something.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Never
Gina
be
and I talked
afraid to-
about that yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Good.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That's way cool.
I want to thank Craig. I'm going to connect with you. The off-market properties that you sent, my client
Mhm.
wants to get more information.
Okay. Great.
So,
Sounds
Power of our team. I love it.
I love that too. That was what the purpose of the
So
team.
awesome, guys.
It really is being across state lines. That was the purpose of this. That's cool.
Exactly. And I was talking about that like tonight. I'm like, I've got to get out of here. So what do? Well, I need to press on my team. I need to lean on the team.
Mhm.
That's what we're here for. We're here to help each other.
Yep.
and
Amen.
Craig happened to, he was like, oh, I don't know why we were talking about something else, but he was like, by the way, I have these off-market properties. I was like, send it to me. I sent it to, it was completely out my client initially thought about, but I sent it to her. She's like, yes. So she's got to do some legwork, talk to her lender.
cool. Yep. I can get the rent rolls and P&L statements for you.
Okay, if you'll get that to me, as soon as you get it, I'll forward it.
Okay.
Cool beans. Cool. I love all this.
Cool.
My little piece of good news, in addition to the big good news of interviewing Craig, is that the marketing guy, I hooked up with Gary. Also talked with Gary yesterday. Gary and I had a meeting, and he said, who is this guy and what is he about? Because apparently it was stuck on Gary saying yes. And I'm like, this is this. And he's like, oh, put him through to me. And I'm like, there we go. So he's going to go on the podcast first and then talk with Gary about, marketing, all that kind of stuff. And then from there, so I didn't get him fast tracked, Craig. You got your guy fast tracked. That's totally okay. Okay, let's talk about ReallyFlow. So I'll talk for a second about ReallyFlow, and then I'm going to turn it over because Brianna's doing some cool stuff on it that's different that I hadn't thought of. And I'll tell you the two things that I had thought about putting together, or the things that I've used ReallyFlow for. It's a huge tool with a ton of different attributes within that tool. So I think of it in how do I use this plus some other tools and put them together because it's such a good source of data. So the thing that I originally did was when I was looking to pick up a rental property, I just kept on crunching the numbers through ReallyFlow because I could crunch the numbers in like 5 minutes. Literally walk the house, crunch the numbers, boom, I have my number right there. And it helped me analyze my properties to figure out what I wanted to get. So that's like the obvious. But then the other thing I thought about with RealFlow is we also have a thing called Bank Tracker. And so Bank Tracker will tell you which banks have a lot of properties that are in pre-foreclosure or in foreclosure. And with that information, because you can search any bank in any area, it's public information, so they have to put it up there. All it gives you, though, is the percentage of properties that a bank has that are underwater and if a bank's in trouble. So knowing that, I told Gary, he goes, well, it doesn't give you the addresses. I said, but you can find them. He goes, no, you can't. There's no way. And I said, yes, you can. I said, all you have to do is go to ReallyFlow. If the bank's a local bank in Tulsa,
Gary told a woman she couldn't do something.
You pull up the Tulsa area and you run all the properties, and then all you do is dump it into a spreadsheet and sort it out by the owner. It'll be the bank if they've got these, they'll be already foreclosed upon in this case. These foreclosed properties, it'll be on the bank's portfolio. It'll bank as owner. And so you just pull those and then you have it. You have the entire list of all the properties that bank has that are owned by them. If they're owned by them, they're not paying their stuff. The bank owns it.
Right.
So that's what I put together. And Gary is like, that's brilliant. And I'm like, I know, I love that. And I think that's going to get bigger and bigger as we see more properties taken back by especially local banks, not the big major ones, but the local ones. Yeah. So Bree, though, used it for something completely different. So Bree, you go. Oh, hang on, Kathy, you got a finger up.
I was just going to say that if you take what you just talked about and add into the money tracker where money's moving to,
Huh?
then you're not only looking at what's foreclosing, but you're looking in those growth areas to make it extra, giving
Yep.
an extra boost.
Yep.
Boost.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
y'all notice that thing that Gary went over Monday where he showed us the tools on the GIA website where you could see where money was migrating from?
yes,
That's
yes,
what I'm
how
talking
many
about.
blocks
That's
or
what you're
where
talking about?
money
Okay, yeah,
goes. We
that
have
was
that also.
amazing.
Is that not the coolest thing? I cannot
Mhm.
tell how many people I've talked to in Miami and they're like, because there's cranes all over Miami. And they're
Right.
cranes are usually a site of an area that's building. And I'm like, Miami is hemorrhaging money. And they're like, no, there's cranes everywhere. Rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, no, all the money from Miami is coming to my county. It's
Yeah.
literally going to Central Florida to get away from the hurricanes. And anyway, it's very interesting. But
And then
Bree
sink,
and
and then sink. The sinkholes.
oh, sink,
I know.
oh,
Remember
that's-
when we were all gonna die from quicksand? Like that was the thing in the 80s, right? We were all gonna die. Like the $6 million man is on Paramount Plus or one of those streaming apps. And I was watching it, and sure enough, the woman run in the sink sand into the quicksand. He's like, hold on, I got you. I didn't.
I will let you.
But now it's not a sinkhole, it's a sinkhole.
Yeah,
Sinkholes are
I
gonna
was-
kill us.
Yes, I was prepared as a kid to be able to handle the quicksand. I
Yes,
knew-
we were gonna lay back, right? We're gonna put
Yeah.
our
yeah,
like
Yes.
we all knew how to survive quicksand.
yes,
And
yes,
now we have sinkholes.
yep. And so Bree, what you got?
Yeah, Bree.
So I went in and put in Nashville in really slow and found all people that finance real estate. There were 1,000 of them. And then I went and looked
Hang on one second.
at
Hang on one second. What is another word for people who finance real estate?
investors,
Lend-
like
There you go.
owner financing.
Investors.
Yeah,
Okay, keep
investors.
going. Okay, keep on
That
going.
do their own owner financing. And
Yep.
so there were over 1,000 in the Nashville area. 80% of them came from 2 zip codes.
Hmm.
And so when I did research on the individuals, I went to the tax records to see what they own, but most of them just do financing for other people. They're like executives from UPS that moved to Nashville. So what I'm trying to do is set up, try and figure out the amount that they finance, because it could be anything from 100,000 to 10 million.
So are they like hard money lenders or?
It doesn't really say. It just says that they're owner financing. So
Okay.
Yes, basically it's hard money or they're carrying the terms, but usually you're carrying it for a higher interest rate than what the banks are doing anyway. So it's a form of hard money, or they're buying property and then they're selling it back on their own terms. It's one of the two. But either way, they're financing,
Is this one of those
so I-
scenarios where
I
they have a
did that
huge
as a-
balloon payment too, or no?
it gave me the courage to ask 3 sellers for my client if they would owner finance.
Mhm.
And none of them had considered it but when I told them the terms, and then that I would, I worked with my title company to put the terms together, and I think they charged like $300 to put the contract together. I've got 2 out of the 3 that I'm following up for that are going to do owner finance that never thought about it before.
Now, here's why this is cool. I have to sell my property for 400,000 and the market's tanking. And right now it's only worth 375. And I really need to sell for 400 because I need to get my money out of it because I got to go over here and I can't do it. But if I can do owner financing with a good enough down payment and that gets me the money I need for new property or whatever it is I want, then that might be a really good option because I can probably pull my 400. When I talked to Gary, he said, if you're going to do owner financing, you can pull 10% over the market. So if the market says the house is worth 600, you can probably pull 660 out of it. He goes, you really can't go much beyond that, but you can push stuff up about 10% in addition to the interest rate being higher than what you're going to get standard on a bank. So
initially we were going to do 15 years, 10, and then I went to the title company, got the numbers. My client said, back freeze.
come on back. Okay, hang on, you're back. Hang on.
So we
Initially,
did it for 5 for less interest rate.
okay, you initially had 15 and then you did 5 for less interest. Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. Another thing, I have a bunch of properties. The real estate market is going down. I do want to sell a few of them because I've already run past my 10 years. So why don't I could offer owner financing for those and start moving through those properties, using the income off of that to augment and offset my income here, the down payment to go get something else. I still keep it in my portfolio until it's done. So I've got that going on. Maybe I have 10 properties and banks, well, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have a problem loaning over if you own more than 10 properties. So that was a bit of a problem also. So maybe I need to get some of my stuff off my books. So there's all kinds of options to be able to reach out to people of high net worth. Yep. What about Bree? What about again a Facebook post of people who own, hey, owners out there who thought you couldn't sell. There's a huge pool in this area of people who do owner financing. I would love to chat with you about other options if you've had a hard time selling your property. What about picking up any expireds that might be popping up in your area and seeing, because the problem with an expired, 99% of the time, they're overpriced. Like literally 99% of the time. Well, if they're overpriced, I mean, we know the market's going down. It's going to get worse.
So how do you counteract all the Keller Williams agents that hammer them?
So because I was one,
by the way, your thing still is live on Keller Williams, by the way.
What thing is?
When you accepted my friend request on Facebook and it had all your little links and everything, there's a thing about Gina, your KW
agent?
or what? Yeah, that's still live. Yeah.
That's
there was
hilarious.
At least one, if not 2, of your links for Keller Williams that are still live, but I promise you there's one of them.
Okay, I believe you completely. It's interesting because I found out from that office. I was talking, Anna is from that area, and was telling me about that office and what's going on. I'm like, that was my baby.
Yeah,
but
they don't want to let you go. Maybe they want you to come back.
There you go.
We're coming back. We know it.
Well, how do you counteract the Keller Williams people? Okay, so here's Keller Williams is taught to go after them and hammer them on price. And they often typically go after the current ones. If you go back a little bit, nobody's talking to those people, and you can come in and go, I'm not going to hammer you on price like they did. I can get you probably above market. Would you like to talk? How do you do that? I'm happy to explain all of it to you. Are you available Tuesday at 2 or 4? Do not explain on the phone.
On the phone, no. Yeah, I agree.
No, get in front of them and then sit down with them and talk to them and just say, look, there's some other options. Are you open to those? It's, and these are what they look like. And if this is a good fit for you, great. If it's not, it's gonna, then we do need to sit down and talk about price, because you have 2, 3 options, however many options you want to present to. These are your options. Which one works best for you?
Right.
So I see the wheels are going. That's awesome. Morning, PF.
Yeah. What's happening, bud?
PF, you sent me a Facebook. I haven't responded to it yet, but I promise I will as soon as I can breathe longer than like a 30-second thing.
Oh, that was actually, I found out it was a reply to something you sent me like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, good. Then I don't feel so bad.
No.
No worries, but I will get to it, I promise.
Oh, no worries. I'm
you're
still
Buddhist, right? Yeah. Are you
What's that?
you're Buddhist, or what is your religion?
Yes,
Buddhist. Okay.
Yes,
Could you give us a nice mantra for this market right now?
for the mantra right now.
Yeah, like I love Buddhism. I have friends that like one of them, he goes, well, I'm Buddhist.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's
I
hilarious.
know. And here I am trying to learn about Buddhism. And he's like, well, I'm Buddhist. I'm like, you are missing an opportunity to tell somebody and to share your thoughts and everything. So I'm Christian. And I've always believed in Buddhism, and I don't think that you have to be one religion per se. You know, I think that religions are like languages, right? Even love languages, if you will. What
Yeah.
speaks to you, you know? And if Christianity doesn't speak to you, maybe Buddhism does, maybe Hindu does. You know,
Something bigger than yourself.
yeah, I've had friends I mean, I've been blessed to be all over the world and had worldly friends. And so I don't put a thing on anything. And sometimes Christianity offers the right phrase for somebody, but sometimes, I mean, I've had my Buddhist friends tell me things that just like give me such a sense of peace. So come on, Pia. Sense of peace. Give us something.
I'll repeat what I said yesterday then. It's okay to drop a plate.
Yes.
That was so good.
Yeah, I love it.
That was
Yeah.
so good.
Love it.
I only have
Yeah.
paper plates.
I was looking up.
That's a,
Up a plate,
Let
like
us-
something so simple, but means so much, right?
It don't,
Yeah.
the paper plates
Yeah.
don't fall the same.
No, they don't.
It depends if you have a bonfire underneath it.
They
Well,
probably
that's
go, if
true.
this is the food, they probably go this way. So
Yeah.
that's what a paper plate will do.
well, that's the thing about plates. Not all plates are the same, so they all fall differently. And it's
Yeah.
okay.
So if I drop China versus China,
Capital C, small c. I love it. I was wondering, the poet and the philosopher Rami R-A-M-I, I don't know his last name. I was trying to look real quickly to see if he
Rumi.
was, I love his sayings.
You mean Rumi, right? R-U-M-I?
Oh, that guy, yeah, Rumi.
Yep.
Yeah, is he? He's fascinating. I have this cool book full of a million quotes that tear off that I'm using it in when I send my boxes. One of these go in, and there was a Rumi one yesterday. I don't remember what it was, and I'm like, oh, it was so good. It was so good. Today, so the sun will rise is not. It's by Alexandra L. I don't know who that is. The sun will rise and set regardless. What we choose to do with the light while it's here is up to us. Journey wisely. So, oh, here's my Rumi. Sorry. Haha, found it. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. And do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you're used to is better than the one to come? Rumi. So I don't know who those Rumi guys, but I need to go check them out. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
you know it's better than what's yet to come.
You don't. You don't. And we only fear it because it's the unknown. And then when we get there and we turn around, we like, shouldn't have feared that one at all. That one.
You might have missed it.
It's true. And in my life, I've had to give up in order to get sometimes.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if we've talked about it before, but I was talking to another coach friend of mine yesterday. He's a commercial guy. How do you find your big why?
Ah,
Oh,
yes. This is so good. Okay.
here we go. Go,
it's
Gina.
not- It's
Your
not as-
brain, your heart.
It's not as easy as some people think it is.
No, it's
And
not.
some-
It's not been for me.
Yeah, sometimes people end up with a few littler whys, and that's okay too. So what I do is I'm like, okay, so why do I get up in the morning when the day is hard and I do it anyway? Da, 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 da. Well, because I want to make money. Why do I want to make money? Well, I want to, and I just start asking why does that matter? What is that going to give me? And why is that important? And I just keep on asking versions of that over and over and over with every answer I get. Now, here's the problem that I have personally. I get to a level that I think is core. And I'm like, okay, I've hit the core. And for me, I can tell a core because it's kind of it's like a knife to my gut. It's like a gut punch, right? And I'm like, oh, all right, I think that's it. And then I'm like, I feel very settled. All right, I hit it. I hit my core. I know my gut punch. We're there. And then I will bounce it off of somebody. And inevitably they're like, well, blah, 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 blah. Ah, son of a bitch. Now I gotta go back in and go dig again. Because it's not. It's
Son of a
not.
bitch.
So it's
Image
hard.
rate.
It's hard for me to get down, 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 down. So I go as deep as I can, and then I go to a person that knows me really well, loves me, can call me on my BS, and bounce it off of them. And usually the first time around, I get tossed back into doing this again to figure it out. And by usually the second time, I've got it down. So it's a gut punch. It's what's truly, truly, truly important to me that's bigger than myself, but it took me a while to get there, and it was some small whys first. It was a series of kind of small whys. So if you have someone you can bounce off of, bounce, but yeah, keep on asking those questions. Why is that important? What would that give to me if I have that? And why and what does my life look like then, I guess, if I have that thing? And I just keep, and then why is that important to me? And what is that going to give me? What happens if I have that? What does that give my life? Why? And I just keep on circling through it. And they say
Just
your big why is 5 questions deep, but mine was about 50 to dig down.
Do you think, I think probably most of us are familiar with Gary Keller's The One Thing.
what I was going to ask was Gina
Simon
Fairfax
Sinek.
or
Oh, okay, whoever does it. Anyway, The One Thing, the book.
Gary and Jay, I think it's Gary and Jay Papasan are the one thing.
Okay.
yeah.
I think that you can use that to work through to your
Oh,
why as well.
Yeah,
Without-
I gotta go back.
At least that's my.
That is
opinion.
on our
What do you guys
90-day
think?
like instructions with,
hang on. Simon Sinek is the guy who wrote the book about the big why, and he has a TED talk that can help you kind of go through it also.
Okay.
It's Sinek. And he's done start with why. Here we go. So it's right here. Let me copy and
There's a
paste.
couple, 2 or 3 in that.
Yeah, you're right. There are.
He's done.
Here's a good one. Here's start with why. It's how great leaders inspire action. They start with why. And why is so important. So he has a series of circles, what being the outside circle. Let me move the chat because it's blocking everything. He starts
Thanks,
with
PF.
how and then the why. Yep, right there. PF. Start with why. Yep. So Simon Sinek is where they got that concept. He's the one that dug down into it there. And his TED talk is truly amazing. Truly, 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 truly amazing. He's a good guy. So
I'll check it out.
cool beans.
Talks are so much fun.
What is?
TED Talks.
I love TED Talks.
I can
A TED
watch all
Talk
of them.
junkie. I'm not even joking. I'm a TED Talk junkie, and now I'm podcasting and TED Talk junkies. So
Do you know who Eric Hatch is? Out of
why is that
Fargo,
clear?
Fargo, North Dakota.
There's the one thing. No, I don't. Off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
he was originally with Keller Williams, and then apparently
He
he
was
did
coaching.
yes, he does. He
Okay.
did some shady shit with and he'll say it like that's literally his words. I did shady shit
Mhm.
while I was with Keller Williams, and they fired me. And
Oh,
he,
there's a couple people that have talked about that. That's
yeah,
cool.
and that's a big story. And anyways, when I was with Aaron Catron, before we joined with EXP, we actually went out to Fargo. And so Hatch and his company does this whole thing every year, which is actually pretty cool. It was fun. It's more about personal growth than like real estate growth. But anyways, it was really neat. Well, they're now, so he was individual, and they went with Real.
Yep.
Real, yeah, right. From being an independent, and that kind of surprised me because he went from Keller Williams, and I thought he might choose EXP, but his, I don't know, anyways, he ended up with Real. And I'm sure there's a way. I mean, that's Eric's thing, is making money, right? So I'm sure there's
Yeah,
a way.
there is a thing. It's sort of like, it's a little like EXP. It's a tiny company. They've got, so yes,
It's growing, and there's a lot of similarities.
Right.
You
Is
know,
that Excel?
I mean, everybody's going to do this thing, and that's what brokers do, right? So I always said that, a broker is the person that takes my money, right? Fair enough. And because they don't do anything for it. And what do they do to give that back to us? And I truly feel that EXP gives the most back to us
Mhm,
in every way possible.
mhm.
So I don't know anything about Real, but anyways, the reason I brought up Eric was that he was successful, and then he went into coaching, and then sold his practice over to Real and all that. So
Interesting.
I don't know anything about, but
Okay. Anyone else have any words of wisdom or anything before we jump off and I get my Wix website started?
Typing in the other book.
Ah, okay.
So I'm a little slow at this. Give me a second. But it's Find Your Why, a practical guide for discovering purpose for you and your team, also by Simon Sinek.
Okay.
But that's the other one.
Yep, I'm gonna check him out.
They kind of go hand in hand, but doesn't make it a whole lot easier to me.
I do have some good news, Gina.
What you got?
So you know that I'm not very happy being back in Tulsa,
Right.
and it's kind of a means to an end. However, guess what, Craig? North Carolina, my two favorite states in the universe. I just looked it up tonight, and North Carolina actually offers reciprocity to Oklahoma.
Oh, very cool.
I can go. I won't make broker status, but I'd be realtor associate or whatever. I don't care.
Right.
But I wouldn't even, I could start there, and I wouldn't even have to take the
National.
state exam.
No, you
because-
just have to take state, not national.
No, you don't even have to take state.
Shut up. Really?
Yes, it's brand new. I think for the first of the year. Yeah.
Wow.
So you can come in basically. So in Oklahoma, your first year you have to be under somebody, and you're a broker associate or sales
Right.
associate or whatever it is. I didn't have to do that because I came from Texas and had prior experience. But man, if I could get to North Carolina and not have to deal with all that crap and just get started,
Yeah,
that'd be
that'll
great.
be
That was
good.
my whole fear this whole time, was going back from the beginning and yada yada yada.
Trevor,
Yes.
when I didn't want to live in Washington State anymore, I put a sign up in my own handwriting that said, "Not another winter." And I put it in front of where I worked in January 1st, actually, I put it there. It was my New Year's resolution, not another winter. And because I had it right, it was right above my computer. So I constantly am looking at that while I'm working, constantly. And it's just lodging in my brain in a very deep, profound way, because it's my own handwriting on a card. And by September, I don't know, September 1st or whatever, I had moved to Virginia. And clear across country, it was something that I wasn't expecting, wasn't looking for, wasn't anything. Just one day I happened to be at Keller Williams, and one day I was like, Keller Williams has all this back end data, like jobs. You can see all the jobs that people are posting, all that. And I was like, I wonder where there's team leader jobs. I think I might be a decent team leader. And I started looking, and one popped up in Virginia. And I started interviewing for all different kinds of them, including we needed a broker or a team leader where I was, where my office that I was located in. And so just interviewing all over. I flew out to Virginia in August or July, whatever. Anyway, I flew out there. And while I was still in the airport waiting to catch my flight back home the next day, I got the job offer. And that's how I got to Virginia.
Nice.
Put it in front of your face. Like, no more Tulsa or North Carolina or whatever it is you want in front of your face, because it will lodge in there, and your brain will just start to look for whatever it is that will make that happen. So just stick it up there.
Well, Craig would be so close. I could work with Craig and help him, and we could do new construction funnels and all
Yeah.
that, and everything.
Come
So
on over.
and that's one of the things that Gary and I talked about was that, one is EXP is set up to where we don't have to be licensed in every state.
Right.
You got to prove of value, and that's why sometimes in the workplace thing, somebody will say, "Hey, I'm looking for this for 50%,
Hmm.
referral fee," and I'm like, 50%? What the hell? Seriously? But that's what they do. Like, this is their job. Like, and they do a lot of work. They do a lot of extra work. And there was somebody that chimed in on something the other day, and I was like, what? Come on now. That's just greedy. But it was actually somebody saying, I will give 40% for your first referral. Like, that was a positive thing. Like,
Yeah, they were
would
going the other
do
direction.
for your referral.
So
I thought that was cool.
in California, in the Bay Area, when I was lead generating for the Sacramento, Modesto, Stockton area, I started charging for listing. I would set up a listing appointment, and I started charging 35%, and then I charged 45%, and then I charged 50%. And I charge now, it's not a referral, it's an actual appointment. Like, show up Tuesday, 2:00, here's all the data. Just go take the listing. And
Right.
I had so many people clamoring, and all I was doing was making phone calls. I had so many people clamoring for 50%, and I couldn't, because I only had a few hours a day that I could do that to get those set up. And I usually get one appointment a day set up, that it was like, I could charge more, but it just feels wrong, But
Because they got to make a living too, and they're doing the rest of the work. And
they're doing everything else. Exactly. The only thing I'm doing is the thing they refuse to do. That's the only thing I'm doing, is they refuse to pick up the phone and cold call to go get listing appointments.
I
They
don't
refuse
have
to do
a
it.
problem with that. So, Gina, I'd like to talk to you about that more.
Sure. I tell you exactly what I said and how I did it and all that kind of stuff.
And I could help everybody in our team, because like, I'm really good with the phones. I'm really good with lead conversion. It's kind of,
Yep.
it's just my jam. Like, I took a position with Austin at a brokerage, and they had a lead conversion team, and the person that was heading up wasn't doing anything. Oh, they were horrible. And I came in, I just did it full time. And I got so comfortable with the phone and texting and reaching out to everybody and everything else. And all I did was I put everybody in the car for
Mhm.
them. All I had to do was go show a home and write a contract.
Yep.
But you know what? That wasn't good enough either. Oh, okay. Well, Gina, you know, I'll have a one-on-one on about that. And
Oh,
I do.
hang on. I need to go. Also, this is my handyman guy for my rental. So I'm gonna cut us off. You guys, this is one of my favorite talks we've ever had. Thank you so much. I can't wait for tomorrow. We're gonna go over my 12 rules that I've learned in life. And
I
so
will make it even if I have to stay up all night again.
it's so sweet. Bye, sweeties.
Y'all are awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.